Welcome to the Double A Sports Podcast, minor league feel with major league discussion. Here are your hosts, Alan and Alan.
Welcome, everybody. This is the Double A Sports Podcast, Season 1, Episode 1. My name is Alan, and I'm here with my co-host and best friend, Alan.
What's up, everyone?
And let's get a little bit into who we are. I am a hardworking, proud father of two awesome boys. I'm a property manager and a lifelong Mets fan. I grew up in Norfolk. The baseball team that we got to watch around here were the Tides. And the Tides were always the Mets farm team for the longest time. I got to see players like Mike Piazza, David Wright, Jose Reyes, Benny Agbayani, and others through the years. We're a couple of best friends, and guess what? We met on the baseball field at the age of about 5 years old, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Yeah, it's been great. Like, something that baseball you bring up together, like playing t-ball, and as we got older, we fell in love with the game even more. I stopped playing early on. I think it wasn't a coach, something didn't do right, but Alan kept playing through high school, even had some college prospects a little bit in there, and I just fell more and more deeply in love with baseball and also our Mets growing up here in Norfolk. It was awesome. Like I said, Mike Piazza's rehab game. I remember taking Alan because my dad had a picnic that day. It was just so much fun seeing one of our idols. And then watching David Wright, a local boy here from Virginia, grow up and become our captain. It's been special. So it was only right for us to do a baseball podcast, at least to start with.
Right. And about the time Alan was graduating high school, the Mets decided they wanted to leave our hometown, and we got stuck with the Orioles. Not saying that's a bad thing, but it was definitely a letdown for some Mets fans who were really hoping to get season tickets to see our boys play.
Yeah, especially it's even better watching these players who come up through the organization now. Like the thought of we could have saw DeGrom come up, Syndergaard, even Pete Alonso now. Like, this is ridiculous that we could have watched. And the Orioles, since they've been here, have not brought prospects up through here besides Trey Mancini. Everyone else has gotten a Double-A and then got called up. So it's been a little letdown that the Orioles have not seen a true prospect come through here in Norfolk besides Trey, really. So it's going to be interesting to see what the new system with the Orioles, if they bring someone up new, like they have the top prospect, first pick last year, so they'll have the first pick again this year. So we'll see what happens in the next couple of years, but it's going to be very interesting baseball here in Norfolk. So with being what just happened tonight as we record this Tuesday night, the Hall of Fame vote, we figured it'd be a great way to start this podcast. So if you don't know by now, there's two inductees this year. One being Larry Walker, which just got in with 6 votes by the skin of his teeth at 46.6%.
Right. He got 6 votes to get in, and that's crazy because last year he got about, I think it was a 54. He got 54% of the votes. That's a 20% increase.
And I think the year before that, he had like 20-something.
Right. So that just shows you that when you're in your last year, you could possibly get voted in. So what do you think? What do you think about Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds? Are they going to get in next year?
I don't think so. I think they're going to make them wait one more year.
Well, isn't last year the last year?
Nope, they got one more year.
Oh, okay.
They got 2 more years. So, and then also, it's kind of, this vote is going to be a great discussion going forward with Derek Jeter getting in. We all knew first ballot Hall of Famer, but the letdown is he got 1 vote shy of perfection.
He got snubbed. I mean, everybody knows he's a Hall of Famer. His stats are crazy. He's over 3,000 career hitter. I mean, he's the face of the Yankees organization. They're going to retire his number. I don't understand how you don't vote him in. Like, how does he not get that vote?
It's going to be interesting in the next 2 weeks because now they release the ballots of everyone. So in 2 weeks, we're going to know he or she who did this. And I feel kind of bad for that person a little bit. Like, before you could be quiet, like you snub these people. Like, I did some digging. Like, some of these great players who didn't get perfect, like we all knew 2 years ago, Griffey was 3 shy, was the record. It beat Seaver and Nolan Ryan at 99.3 of the vote. Then, of course, you have Tom Seaver and Nolan Ryan got 98.8%. Ripken at 98.5%. Ty Cobb at 98.2%. And what's even crazier, the top 10 best votes doesn't have Babe Ruth.
That's crazy.
Babe Ruth was 95% voted in the first class.
The great Hambino.
Like, something needs to change. Like, only getting 10 votes, especially last year. Like, that's why we got 4 people in. There's too many. Like, you can tell by the jump this year. And next year, there's going to be jumps next year. So Kurt Schilling got what, 70% on the dot this vote. Yeah, 70% on the dot. He got 60.9 last year. So he got 9.1 up. Clemens and Bonds only grew by 1.5 this year compared to last year.
Right, and that's pretty crazy because last year there was more people to vote for to get in, so that means they're still not getting the votes they need.
So the biggest jump besides Larry Walker is Scott Rowland. Scott Rowland got 18.1% bump between last year and this year. Then the next biggest was Gary Sheffield. He got 16.9.
What about my boy Billy Wagner?
Billy Wagner got 15 points bigger.
Oh, so sad.
He will eventually get in. I have no doubt about it. I really hope. So besides Bonds, Clemens, Omar got what did he end up getting? 52.6. Last year he got 42.8. So he got almost 10. And then Todd Helton was is around the top 10. He jumped 12%. So, but let's see. Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds have 2 more years. I think they're going to make them wait 1 more year.
Okay, well, let's while we're on the subject, let's discuss Bonds and Roger Clemens and steroids. Do you believe they have a place in the Hall of Fame?
I think they do. If you look at Barry Bonds, especially prior to figure out when he did steroids, he was a Hall of Famer at that point. Same thing with Clemens probably. I think that kind of Barry Bonds saw the year of the home run race. He had arguably one of the best career-wise between average home runs. No one talked about him because of the home run race between Sosa and McGwire. So that's when he showed up, 40 pounds bigger the next off season.
Right, but what I'm saying is, with the steroid use, he has 700 plus home runs, and then you look at Roger Clemens, he's a 7-time Cy Young winner. I mean, those stats don't lie. I mean, is it because of the steroids or are they talented?
They were talented, and then they just extended their career with steroids.
Well, here's the issue I have with the steroid users. It violates the integrity of the game. I mean, cheaters don't prosper. I don't think you should award cheaters. And their stats are forever tainted because of this. I mean, I don't know. What is it? You know what I'm saying? If they're not in the same playing field, like, I just don't justify how they can get in. And if they do get in, they should be in a little hallway with asterisks next to their name.
I don't know about asterisks. It's already part of baseball is something like people in the A's putting stuff on the balls, and everyone finds a way to manipulate and extend their career or be better. And I think when MLB started testing and you failed, because it's a rule now.
Right.
Prior to it, it's the unspoken rule, but now when the set rule, people got A-Rod got suspended for a year. You knew they were testing and it was illegal and you got busted. I'm sorry. Prior to it's that gray area. I think they get in barely their 10th and final year, because if they don't, it's going to be real hard for them to get in with the senior committee.
So you're saying if they do get in on their final year, that would open the door for so many other players getting voted in.
It's going to be tough because like them, Sosa don't have much time left, and he didn't get many. Is he even on? Yeah. He got 13.9% of the vote this year.
Wow.
And he had 600 and something home runs.
That's amazing. What is the minimum number they have to get voted to stay on the ballot?
5%.
5%. Okay.
So, and next year's class, there's not really big name people. So that's why I'm almost certain Kurt Schilling gets in next year. I don't know if anyone else gets in next year. Bonds and Clemens might be right there, 73, 72 maybe. I don't know, because I got the list kind of the 3 big names on next year's list that I can see potentially being Hall of Famers down the line. You have Torrey Hunter. Shane Victorino, and maybe Mark Brule.
Burley, I don't think these guys are first time ballot winner,
No.
Hall of Famers.
No, I said eventually
They're going to take some of the votes, maybe.
Yeah.
Right. I got you.
So like other people like AJ Burnett, no. Michael Kadire, no.
No.
Tim Hudson, Adam LaRoche, Nick Swisher, Barry Zito. It's kind of the names out there for next year. So next year it is going to be a big, and I think more players get in the following year because the next year after that you have like David Ortiz gets to be up there.
Oh yeah, Big Papi for sure.
So this next year is the year where they can jump, maybe barely get in or maybe barely miss.
Right. Well, you know who I'm excited about if Roger Clemens does get in and Barry Bonds. I know he's not going to get in, but he's part of the discussion. Bartolo Colon.
We can only wish. I don't
Big
see why
Sexy
not.
gets in. I mean, I don't know.
Like you have a Brady style career being longevity. Like, come on, you outlasted a baseball stadium in your career. Like, it's unreal.
And according to Big Sexy's Instagram, he's still bringing it, striking out all the kids.
Yeah. So Hall of Fame vote, like, it's crazy. I think what they said, I heard that with Derek Jeter going in, this is like the 13th first player to go in the last couple of years, which is a big change because a lot of people like the old school way. You have to wait.
Yep.
So that's like the three people with Griffey. Come on. But hey, and I personally don't think a lot of those voters need to have the vote. Like, you have people who have not wrote in baseball in a couple of years
Still getting to vote.
getting the vote because all they have to do is pay the dues.
So you think in a couple of years there might be some new blood able to vote, and that might change some.
It could possibility, and I honestly think they should change where you only can get 10 names. I think it needs to be a simple yes, no, vote who you think should be in the Hall of Fame. Not, no, okay, got 10 names. Who do I pick?
Right, out of the 10.
Because I think that's what happened last year and the year before that. There was a lot of names. Like, I only have 10 votes. I know this person's going to get in most likely, so let me put my vote to someone else to get another chance. That could have happened with Griffey. Because, like, okay, he got in. Let me use my vote for someone else. It could be for Jeter's reason. We don't know.
Do you think Derek Jeter's upset that he didn't get that one vote?
No. He's a Hall of Famer no matter what. He don't care. He could have been 80% and been happy. As long as he's going to have that plaque enshrined in Hall of Fame in Canton come July, I don't think he care whatsoever. I don't think last year should have been the first. There's been many prior, like we said, but it's just part of the game. Like, you're Hall of Famer, you're a Hall of Famer. If you're like I said, Larry Walker's so happy just getting his final year at 76.
And he was celebrating in a SpongeBob shirt.
I know. When I first went to, I was like, is that Larry? I was like, what is he wearing? Like, it's like a professional, like, fishing SpongeBob shirt. And then, like, he was having a great time. He was
He's
happy.
enjoying retirement.
Yeah. Like, now he's in so I'm happy for him. Congratulations to both Larry Walker and Derek Jeter for getting into the Hall of Fame. So I think the next topic besides Hall of Fame, I think we're going to have to go to is this Astros cheating scandal.
Right. We have to touch base on this scandal. I mean, it's too crazy. Three managers lost their job and a GM.
Yep. And we don't know the full of it yet because they're still doing an investigation with the Red Sox now because of Alex Cora being there. So it's going to be very interesting over the next couple weeks of what we find out about what happened in Boston. But if you haven't heard the videos and stuff of the bang on the trash can, the whistles, it's kind of obvious.
Right. And as a manager, there's no way you don't know what's going on when that's happening. You hear it.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah. So, like, people like say around baseball that they heard this stuff was going on. And then suddenly now it's finally told because we have a whistleblower of a former Astro player.
Well, let's go. All right. Well, let's talk about it. So, the MLB suspended their GM, Jeff Luhnow, and the manager AJ Hinch for one season. Ultimately, they were fired. But after this one season, is somebody going to take the chance again with them?
I think the way AJ apologized about it, he said, "Yes, I knew about it. I didn't like it, but he didn't stop it." So yes, he took full responsibility. Now the GM. Hey, it wasn't my fault. I didn't know. It's a little too much, bro. Like,
I mean, that's too bad. That's your job.
Yeah, that's your team. Besides the owner, you're supposed to be that guy. So,
All right, so if you think AJ Hinch will get a job in the future, what team would do you think it would take a chance with him?
I don't know. It
Depends on who's struggling.
It depends. Yeah, because what he's done with that team, talent wise, to get them to what they were before, like they're like the Cleveland Browns.
Okay, well, hold on. While we're on the subject, let's talk about the talent. My biggest disappointment out of this whole situation is Alex Bregman and Altuve.
Yeah,
I mean, if you look at their home stats versus their away stats during that time frame, it's like night and day.
yeah.
I mean, if you take away the cheating, does Altuve become MVP? Is he that good, or is he just subpar?
That is a great discussion. And then like the whole Dodgers trying to get the titles now, you can't prove, but
I don't think they're going to do that.
No.
But I am very disappointed. Like, I don't know how I feel about Altuve as a player now. Like, I just can't justify his greatness because of this.
and I think it was very interesting that Astros had their fan fest this past weekend,
And people were out there looking like they were having a great time.
and they're asking, and no one clearly said what happened. Like, we're gonna win, we'll be fine this year, kind of attitude. It was very surprising that like I do apologize, or like come clean, like that was your chance. They didn't. They were like, okay, we'll be fine this year. We'll be back in the World Series. I guarantee it.
Okay, well, seeing as that's the mentality that we're getting so far, the penalties that they were given, the Astros were stripped of their first and second round draft picks for the next 2 years, and they were fined $5 million. Do you think that's basically a slap on the wrist?
$5 million, yes. They probably could have been more. Like, come on, $5
That's
million.
chump change for a Major League Baseball team.
Most
Especially the Astros.
decent players are getting $20 million a season, so that's like okay. And how much money? Like, would you pay $5 million to get a world championship? Yes.
Easily.
So, but where I think it's going to hit him the most come 4 or 5 years is those draft picks. So you're talking potentially 4 studs that you're going to be losing now in 4 to 5 years, because I think, what is it? Carrera has 2 years left on his deal. Springen, I think this is last year, his deal.
So what you're saying is they're basically going to have to make some huge trades to get some prospects.
Trades or signings to
Right.
get someone in there, because they're going to be missing out on 4 potential prospects. Yes, prospects don't always pan out, but you could have a Carrera get past you because you lost your draft picks. So could have been more penalties? Yes. Stripping the title, I don't think, because you can't technically prove if that would have changed the outcome. The Red Sox, you don't know the extent of what happened. We're assuming something close to the cheating or stealing signs happened, so we'll have to wait for those details to come out. But if the rumor was that Cora was getting more suspension than AJ, I really want to know what's going on in Boston.
What kind of insider information do they have about this if that's the situation?
Yeah, like you would think everything got released at once,
Right.
because we are 3-4 weeks away from spring training. I think that's why they did it, because if this came out beginning like right before opening day, what would you done to your managers?
Well, still, the managers is a tough spot to have at this point of the season. I mean, we're about to go to spring training, and we have 3 teams that don't have managers. Let's talk about that.
So I think the best case scenario for the 3 teams with losing their managers are the Mets, because our Mets, all new coaches. So it's not like where this whole organization, like the Astros, have been together for years. Red Sox, they've been together for 2+ years now. So and then it makes sense for Red Sox, because now they get their new GM, so he gets to pick his guy, and they're not going to take a winner. They might take a step back. They might realize, like, okay, let's start rebuild. Houston, they just came off from losing the World Series, so they're going to need a veteran leadership right away. So that's what does surprise me that Buck Showalter already interviewed. Like, they're going veteran. Mets is very interesting what we're hearing today, because the new ownership is looming above this team that pretty much everyone is coaching or playing for their job in the Mets organization, what we're hearing. So they got to make sure they get the right pick. So what a lot of people were surprised is that they went with Beltran, because you almost have a ready-to-win now team, and you're giving another manager their first ever managing, not like minor leagues, like first managing job.
Okay, well, while we're talking about the Mets, let me go through a couple of managers that I think might fit the bill. So the first one I have is Eduardo Perez. He's currently an ESPN analyst. His father is Tony Perez. I mean, I think he needs a little bit more coaching experience before he becomes the Mets skipper, but he just has a couple of seasons as a bench coach and hitting coach.
Yeah.
The next guy I would love to see as a fan personally, I want to see Wally Backman become the coach. I know that's not going to happen, but a fan can dream.
Right. That's definitely not going to happen. The way he bashed the Mets after he got fired from the AAA team. Yeah.
So the next guy I have on my list is Tim Bogar. He's got great knowledge in the National League East. He's been a bench coach for the Nats. He has other coaching gigs as well. He might be a diamond in the rough, in my opinion. It'd be good to see if he become the Mets skipper. And then the last guy I want to touch base on is everybody's been talking about is Luis Rojas.
Yes.
I mean, he's the brother to Moises Alou. And if you guys don't know, Moises Alou was part of the infamous Steve Bartman play as a Cub. He's currently the quality control coach. Has been
year.
Coaching experience. He's also won a couple of back-to-back championships during the Dominican Winter League in 2015 and 2016. So what do you think?
What a lot of people say they do like him, he's like a diamond in the rough, and I can easily see that there would be no coaching changes, like all the bench coaches and stuff. He can be a plug-in kind of guy. With Todd, I don't think Nashville's going to let him interview, being so close to the season. The only other name that I'm kind of hearing and very interested in is Dusty Baker, because he is a veteran leader. Everyone loves. He's a player's manager, and come on, he got let go from the Nationals after winning 97 and 93 wins.
Okay. Well, Dusty Baker, I agree, would be a great option. He's itching to get back, but from what I've heard, he's not interested in the Mets job. He is solely focused on the Astros job right now.
I understand, because they just came from the World Series. So he can figure like he can plug in, fix the ship, like right the ship right away. I don't blame him.
Yeah, I mean, Dusty's a 3-time National League Manager of the Year award. He's got 95 regular season wins in his last 4 years of coaching. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is. Like, unfortunately, he hasn't won the big thing yet. But the one thing I've heard that you have never spoken or heard of anything bad about Dusty Baker from his players. Everyone loves to play for him. That's one reason I feel like Bryce left the Nationals, because he wanted to keep playing for Dusty and they let him go. I think the rotation, so how he was, it wouldn't surprise me. Like, any players would love to play for him.
Well, what do you think it was? I mean, Dusty Baker left, so did Bryce Harper, and the Nationals won a championship. What do you think about that? I mean, is it coaching or is it something else that we're not seeing?
I think the GM put some pieces together and got some really good signings and drafts. And so we'll see what they do this year without one of their key players leaving. So as we're talking about other managers, let's talk about the other. Let's see what we got. 5. 7 other new managers. So ultimately, if you add the 3 managers that are out there need to be hired, we're looking at 10 managers that are new to their teams. The biggest one, of course, that everyone wanted was Joe Girardi with the Phillies.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Girardi, longtime Yankees manager. He's won 4 World Series.
Yep.
One as a coach. So I mean, it's still pretty good though. He's got a lot of experience. He knows what he's doing, and he could play in big cities.
Yeah, come on. If you can be the manager of the Yankees, I think you can manage anywhere. I think that's why I wanted him as the Mets manager, because he already knows New York. I'm like, he'd be an easy fix. So something happened where he picked the Phillies, and so, but.
Well, as a Yankees manager, he probably likes the big names. So he saw Bryce Harper and was like, hey, I got to coach that team.
Yeah. And they did get better, so it's going to be very interesting. And then the next one, of course, Angels, hopefully they can right the ship and do Mike Trout right with Joe Madden.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's a great hire, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The Angels have actually been making big moves since they signed Trout long-term.
Yeah.
They're trying to build a team around him. They're trying to get a dynasty together.
Yeah, the only thing, they added another bat this offseason. But pitching, they got some depth. They do need a better, ace. That's why they went after Garrett Cole. But we'll see what happens there. The one I was very curious on was with Cubs letting Madden go and then signing David Ross.
I like David Ross.
I
mean,
do too, but as first-time manager of the Cubs, it's very interesting.
That's a big responsibility.
Yes.
But what I do like about him is that he was the catcher for the Cubs, and the catcher basically runs the game during the game. So it's a great transition.
Yeah,
from that
Grandpa
to coach.
Ross was very loved for that 2016 World Series
Especially
champion.
when he hit that home run in Game 7.
Yeah. So it's going to be very interesting, especially with the Cubs. What's the time frame with this team together? We'll see in the next couple of weeks with Chris Bryant, if he's getting a year back from eligibility because of free agent after the season, or he gets 2 more years. So we'll definitely see what happens with that team. Next one is Padres.
Jace Tingle.
Yep.
He's a minor league playing, and he has minor league playing and coaching experience. He's never made it past AA.
He's been like the assistant general manager with the Texans and then bench coach the last couple of years before getting this job. So, like I said, sometimes you don't work out as a player, you become a great coach. So he didn't get the job last year with the Texans, so Padres hired him this year. Then we have the Pirates. We have Derek Sheldon.
Yeah, he coached in a Yankee minor league system, coached players such as Robinson Cano and Ching-Ming Wang. He was the Twins bench coach the last couple of years, so I don't know too much about him.
That whole organization is a full rebuild. Like that GM, like if you look at the previous GM, what he traded away talent-wise, like you trade Garrett Cole away and none of those prospects has worked out. You trade away Austin Meadows and why am I drawing a blank right now?
Well, I know they got rid of McCutchen. I mean, the whole team's just been disbanding since 2015 or so.
Yeah. So you had prospects like Austin Meadows was supposed to replace McCutchen, and then you traded him a year later because he didn't do too good that 1 year. So, and then Royals, of course, they replaced the retiring their manager, so they hired Mike
Matheny.
Yep.
I like him because, like I said, I have a thing for former catchers becoming coaches.
He has won an NL pennant, lost to the 13 Red Sox in the World Series. So he has gone to playoffs and gone deep.
Oh yeah, he was the first. He's the first manager in history to take a team to the playoffs in each of the first 4 seasons.
Yeah, and
you're right.
It tailed off the last couple of years, so he got let go 2 seasons ago.
Yeah, I think like you said he won 2 pennants.
1 pennant. He went to I think 2 championships.
He's also won 6 division titles.
Yep.
He finished second in the National League Manager of the Year in 2015. His team won 100 games that season.
Yeah,
he's got what it takes.
Yeah, that was the year when they won 100 games and lost in the first round.
But do the Royals have a team to get it there?
No, they're in full rebuild mode too. So I see them another year or 2 before even being talked about. But the AL Central is not that strong with Cleveland letting people go, possibly trading more. It's up for grabs. I think that's why White Sox have been doing what they're doing because they think the division is wide open this year. And then our last manager that has been hired so far is the Giants, and that's former Phillies manager, Gabe Kelper.
So, yeah, this guy, he's a former minor league player of the year. He has a long career in the Major League as part of the Red Sox World Series championship team in 2004. So, I think he knows what it takes to win.
I just think, unfortunately, he got stuck with the Phillies the last 2 years with all the injuries.
Right. He took over the job in Philly after they had 6 consecutive losing seasons.
And then each year he's had some form of either subpar injuries, and he's been just below or just above 500 those 2 seasons.
Right. I mean, but before he took over, the season before he took over, they lost 96 games. So given the team that he was given to be a manager, I think he turned it around and did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
I get it. You have Bryce Harper. If
Exactly.
you're not doing a job, what are you going to do?
Between signing Bryce Harper and then getting JT Realmuto, you should have gotten better, what they're saying. But if you look at the NL East, it's going to be a hard division no matter who's there. So it's going to be very interesting this season.
Right, I agree. So we touched base on the new managers and also who we think the Mets should sign on. But what about the Red Sox? Who should they sign on as a new manager?
That is the biggest question mark, I feel like, in baseball.
I'm going to tell you who I think. So I got a couple of names written down. And the first one I have is the Mets bench coach. Hensley Bam Bam Mullins. He's nicknamed because of his power. However, his professional stats say otherwise. But he played in the Major League Baseball. He played in Japan, Korea, Dominican Republic. He coached under Bruce Bochy in the WBC. He's won a World Series, 3 out of the first 5 seasons with the Giants. And, here's a fun fact. He's also been knighted. So I guess technically we should call him Sir Bam Bam.
I actually wouldn't mind if he got the job with the Mets. Like, you don't be Bochy's bench coach. Well, first hitting coach, and then slowly came up under him and became the bench coach.
Right. And if you're already a candidate for another team as their head coach, we have an opening.
Yeah.
Let's hire from within.
Like, I'm almost certain Houston and Mets need a decision by the end of this week, early next week. Red Sox, I feel like they can probably wait the time because this is his GM's first ever head coaching signing, because he's been a assistant agent, GM and player development in Tampa. So this is going to be his first real hire. So he's probably going to take his time.
So if it's his first real hire, I guess he's not going to hire Jason Varitek, is he?
That is the dark horse that people are hearing. Like, I think they're going to get a younger, maybe inexperienced manager, because he might, or someone who definitely in analytics, because that's what that GM is all about.
Well, if they decide to hire from within the organization, I think Billy McMillan is a name that's been thrown around. He's been working his way up in the Red Sox organization from single-A manager all the way up to triple-A manager at the Pawtucket Red Sox.
That wouldn't surprise me. So, like I said, we are, let's see. Yeah, we're about 4 weeks away from pitchers and catchers reporting. So you're thinking in the next week or two, max, someone needs to be hired.
And
because then you're going to make maybe bench coach changes, hitting coach changes.
Right. And that's why I think Billy would be do a great job because he knows how to hit. He's won 2 International League batting titles as a player. He's even hit a grand slam off of Clemens.
Hey.
He's even been inducted into the International League Hall of Fame. So I think the guy's got the sauce.
Yeah. So it's definitely interesting. I feel like Houston will definitely go more conservative with a older manager experience. Mets, they can go either way. Like, it's going to be very higher within, go experience, because they do have a win now team. So it's going to be interesting. But like I said, there's people within that they're hearing a lot of names.
Yeah. I mean, you can make the argument this is the best time to become a head coach in the MLB. There's 3 openings.
Yeah.
Because of firings, but it's there, it's there for the taking.
Yeah, especially those 3 franchises. One has won 1 World Series and then went back to another. Mets are in New York, and they had almost the best second half team in baseball last year with a young rotation, young bats. Like, why not? Red Sox is the only question mark because they had a down year after winning the title, but they're getting older and their prospects are getting where it's time to sign contracts, new GM. So we'll see what direction he goes with.
Well, who do you think's a good candidate for the Astros?
I would, if you go external, I like Buck or Dusty.
Buck Showalter?
Yeah.
Buck's going to stop there?
Why not? Like he is a great manager. I don't see why not. Like, between him and Dusty, they'll be both plug in and play. 'Cause I think they'll both respect the other managers that's already there, right the ship, either of them. Now, if you go younger route, then he might want to make his own changes and stuff weeks before the.
Right. The only other person I think I had written down was Joe Espada. He's the Astros bench coach, but he came in after they won the World Series, so after the cheating scandal.
Well, yeah, because he had to replace Alex.
Right, and he was also the finalist for the Cubs and the Giants coaching position. So, I mean, there's that.
It wouldn't surprise me. Like, and the biggest thing is the owner is going to have to do the hire for the Astros with firing their GM. So compared to 2 GMs finding their manager, the owner for the Astros are going to have to hire a manager, then hire a GM or someone else, or how they're going to do in the organization. So it'll be very interesting. So we'll see the next, as I said, 2 weeks max. Like, you're weeks away from spring training. You need to get down there early to come with a game plan, coaches' decisions if you want to keep some, move on with some of them. So
right, you want to get somebody in there who's going to be able to mold the team the way they want it. You don't want to bring them in halfway through and then just have them figure it out from there.
Yeah, like I said, imagine if it's like April, like halfway through April and this news all broke, and you'd be firing, we'll say definitely AJ and Alex would have been fired. say Mets were 10-2 when this news broke. Do they keep Beltran? We don't know. But luckily, like I said, they're probably the best scenario because they have a young team and a clean slate, all new coaches. So not like they've been there for a while. So you can change people if you really wanted to.
I think it might be a little easier if it was during the season because they would have no option. I don't know if they're going to be searching for people. They might just let the bench coach take over.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much a plug and play then. But where with Houston, we're like, okay, we're bringing Dusty. We're bringing Buck. Like, you're our guy. Right this
making
ship.
boss moves.
Yeah. Now, you're like, okay, this is our temporary manager, even though 1 month into season. So with the season starting in a couple weeks, we'll say about, 4 big rule changes this year?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know how big they are. I mean, I know the first one is the 3-batter minimum for relief pitchers. How do you feel about that?
That's the biggest, I think, change this year for the rules. And it's supposed to speed the game, and it's definitely going to make, like, MLB is taking the strategy out of the managers. Like, that lefty specialist is almost gone now. We're coming for that one batter. He's done for the night. So that position almost has disappeared now because of this rule.
Right. Well, like you said, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of this rule change either because I do like the specialist coming out of the pen to call upon for one batter and do his job. But at the same time, I think the Major League Baseball wants to speed the game up, and they don't like somebody coming in, taking up time, slowing down the game just to bring in one batter.
If anything, what I would have done, I would have just made a 2-batter minimum rule just to start with. So you have to face 2 people. Okay. Now the 3 or half inning or what, like, it's going to be very interesting, like, especially come to playoffs.
Well, to talk about what you said, though, I think that this, to talk about strategy, I think that this does force the manager to reevaluate his bullpens and get the guys that are going to be able to get this done with the rule change.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a professional pitcher. You should be able to strike out the side.
Yeah.
I get it. You're a specialist for one guy, but you're a pro. You get paid to do this. You should probably be able to strike out 3 guys.
I definitely think that's why, like, the Mets, Atlanta, have gone strong for bullpen this offseason because they'll be the new rule. And so your pitcher goes 7 innings. Ultimately, you only need 2 pitchers to finish the game if they finish 3. So it's going to be very interesting, but we'll see how it goes from there.
Well, I think the Mets are attacking the bullpen because that's been our weakness the past couple of years.
Yeah.
No matter how good we think it's going to be, it always falls apart when it counts.
Yeah. So I think bounce back year for some of the bullpen guys, but so we'll see. The next one is just expanding the everyday roster to 26 players.
Previously it was 25, so I don't think this is a huge impact. I mean, I guess I'll keep an eye out for how the managers utilize a spot, whether it's for a pinch hitter or for a defensive player.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you feel about it?
It's just added an extra spot. I think it kind of goes with the other rule with the pitchers changing the IL from 15 to 15 from 10 from last year because they didn't like how ultimately pitchers only missed 1 start because of that rule.
Right, and are they actually injured? So I actually like this rule change because it forces them to really evaluate, are you hurt enough not to stay on the team?
Yeah,
If you have
because
to
now
put you
you're
in
going to
IL.
have to miss at least 2.
Right, exactly.
So with the extra spot, is it going to be a pitcher? Is it going to be a bat? It's going to be very interesting. And then the other one with the roster, September has dramatically dropped.
I know, it's crazy. It went from 40 to 28.
I like it somewhat, but I think it should have been 30. Like, you take away 10. I understand a lot of teams don't use the 40, but it was an opportunity for the battered teams to bring up their young prospects to learn.
If injuries happen, you have people who can play, or if your guys aren't producing, they can sit out for the next round, and you can bring somebody else in who can play. I mean, we saw that last year in the World Series.
Yeah. So to ultimately just only be adding 2 extra spots for September, and they're going to limit the pitchers too. There's only a certain amount of pitchers. They said they'll release at a certain time, like only allowed to carry 13 pitchers to where 15. Like, you're going to limit the pitchers but expand the rosters.
Which is crazy because we know that the pitchers are going to be pitching on short rest. So you could use as many pitchers as they allow you to, and you need it.
Yeah, it's very interesting, these new rules this year. So, all right. So with the all-season talk, our top 5 free agency signings.
So me and Alan haven't gone over our notes with each other, so I'm not sure who his top 5 are, and he's not sure who mine are.
Yeah.
So let's see who you got.
Number 1, I'm gonna go with Rendon to the
I
Angels.
agree. I completely agree with this. I am so happy that the Angels have signed Rendon. I mean, for you who don't know who he is, he goes out there and he gets it.
Yeah.
He doesn't talk a lot. He's not like a Bryce Harper, but he can play.
Yeah. We all knew between Strasburg and Rendon they only can keep one. And they ultimately did keep Strasburg. So Rendon did walk for the same amount of money that Strasburg got. And I think he's going to be a lot happier. Like, I don't think he minds which city he lives in. But I think playing the West Coast, having Mike Trout, you're not going to miss a beat.
Right, and I'm not mad at the Nationals for doing what they did. I mean, it's hard to find great pitching. You can get a replacement person in the field, but a pitcher is hard to come by.
Yeah, I think they have a prospect possibly come up in the next year or two that they might give a chance to spring training to see if the replacement on. But definitely, Angels added a great bat.
So what do you think this does for the Angels roster? I mean, they got Rendon, they got Trout, they got Ohtani, and hey, let's not forget about Pujols.
Yeah, Pujols is, of course, DH. Like,
right,
we know,
right?
like,
We know he's not going to be in the field if we don't.
And
need him.
then, don't forget they do have Justin Upton.
Yes,
He
let's
missed
not
a
forget
lot
Justin
of the
Upton.
season last year.
When Justin Upton is healthy, he is an all-star player, great player.
Like, the only thing, like I said, Angels need to definitely get more. If they do be productive this season, they do need to get a pitcher at the trade deadline. Because signing some of their pitchers, like, I understand they traded for Bundy from Orioles.
Okay,
So
Dylan Bundy.
Yeah. So they did decent, and then they signed from Atlanta's former ace. Oh man, why am I?
Well, while you think about that, I really want to see Ohtani pitch. I only got a little bit of it from his rookie year before he got injured and had to do Tommy John, but he still hit. I want to see the guy pitch.
He should pitch this year. I think after the Tommy John surgery, he should be a year removed. It's gonna be very interesting for him, definitely, because it's like you said, like, you mostly bat last year, but we saw his stuff when he did pitch his rookie year. So it'd be very interesting to see what happens with Ohtani. It's gonna be more of the batter. It's gonna be pitching wise, like what would you put him as in the rotation? Would you be a 3 guy?
Ohtani?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'd put him in the three spot. I mean, he's definitely got ace material, and I understand that you need to get him in the lineup and have his bat as well. But I want to see what he's got. I know he's probably got some filthy stuff that's waiting to come out since he hasn't pitched as much as he'd like to.
Definitely.
All right, well, let's move on to the number 2 guy.
I think this is a no-brainer if you go with that guy that went to the Yankees.
Talking about Garrett Cole?
Yep. Arguably one of the best pitchers last year, and we knew watching the Yankees they needed a ace.
Right.
A genuine ace, and we knew they were going to overpay. Because rumor is that Garrett Cole did kind of want to go to West Coast, and Angels was definitely a possibility.
I mean, dude, last year he's a 20-game winner, and his ERA is a 2.5. That's nuts.
Yeah, but I don't know how I feel about paying a player $30 million to play every 5 days.
Well, like I said, man, this game, you have good pitching, you can win it all. So I get it. There's been a lot of crazy contracts this offseason, a lot of money that I couldn't believe was being paid to pitchers, and they were getting it. So
My biggest thing with his contract is the weird opt-out, where if he tries to opt out, Yankees can add another year and deny the opt-out, which I thought was weird. Like, why would you have an opt-out clause if you can't opt out? I understand he grew up a Yankees fan, so alternately, this could be a 10-year, $350?
you think he's got another 10 years in him?
He's young. I don't see why not. Depends on what health does.
Well, that's why I'm shocked to see all these big contracts given out to pitchers, because the way they pitch these days, they throw so hard, everybody has Tommy John, and pitchers just don't last like they used to.
Yeah, only time will tell with this deal.
Well,
Now, if it's worth it, if he wins one World Series, then yeah, Yankees added ring number 28. But if he doesn't, it's definitely gonna be a bust.
Well, speaking of pitchers with Tommy John injuries, my number 3 guy is Steven Strasburg.
Yeah, I think after his performance, he had his best career year last year, and then what he did in the playoffs and in the World Series solidified him as the future ace of the Nationals. Because Scherzer, you could tell old age is creeping up with him with the injuries last year. So he's definitely going to be probably still number 1 come this year. But doesn't surprise me. Like, if I was choosing home opener opening day, I would probably go Strasburg this year. But they open it in New York, so they do have time. But you never know. They might, where, let's say Max gets opening day in New York, and then they kind of manipulate the pitching, so at least Strasburg can do opening day in D.C. for the ring ceremony and all that nonsense. 7 years, $245 is definitely worth, because we all knew he was opting out. Like, it was clear.
Right. He knew he was getting paid.
Yeah,
he pitched so great last year, is no doubt.
And it didn't surprise me if he went West Coast, because he's from California. Like, I thought Angels was going to get either Cole or Strasburg. I knew they had to get one of them.
Now, that would have been a game changer.
Like, God, if they got both of them.
Or if they just added one with Rendon. I mean, that alone would just seal the deal for sure.
So, my 4th is another pitcher. It hurts me to say this, was Zach Wheeler going to the Phillies.
Yes, man. Zach Wheeler to the Phillies, it hurts me too.
I think Phillies overpaid a little bit. 5 years, $118 million.
Right. Where do you put him at in the rotation? Do you put him as a 3 guy or 4 guy?
Because, okay, they have, Noah, 1. I might put him as 2. Maybe he's definitely a 3. But who's their second pitcher? I don't even know. Like when someone argued with me last season, like, oh, Philly's going to take it this year, I'm like, who's your pitching? Because they really didn't have pitching. And I feel like Zach would definitely be a 3, which that's why I loved him as a Mets, because he was definitely a 3. But I could see him possibly as a number 2 if he's healthy and the second half Wheeler that we've seen the last couple of years. Because he had one of the better seasons, not last season before the second half. Numbers were right there with DeGrom, sub 2 this second half of the season. Unfortunately, he had a better season overall last year, so that's why he got the $118 million over 5 years. But he's definitely not an ace between the surgeries and stuff, and his control.
I think they have Jason Vargas on the team. Is he in the starting rotation?
I think deal should be done unless he resigned. So, who you have your 5th?
Well, that was your number 4, right?
Yep.
My number 4 was actually Mad Bum.
Okay.
I mean, I know he didn't have the best of years last year, but you can't deny this guy is great.
I do. You know where he's at on my list?
Where's he at?
Number 10.
Oh, wow. You got him that far down?
Mm-hmm.
Why so?
He's towards the back end of his career. I don't understand the signing to the Diamondbacks. You had Zach Greinke and you just trade him away.
Right. So you essentially replaced Greinke with Mad Bum, but did you put anybody else on the surrounding cast?
Not really.
Okay. So I can see why you have him down there at 10, but I'm just going strictly off of players that I think.
Yeah, like as a
5.
player, 3-time, like, come on. Was it 2014 Game 7? That's iconic for Mad Bum as his career to come in on 2 days short rest to finish the game. So he's definitely a great pitcher. So who do you have your 5th?
At my 5th, I have Yasmani Grandal going to the White Sox.
Yes. And he bet on himself last year. He signed a 1-year deal with the Brewers, bet on
showed
himself.
What he has, exactly.
And White Sox were the only ones willing to give the 4th year. That's what he wanted. So he signed with them for $73 million. He's a great catcher. So
right.
it was kind of smart on him to do the 1 year deal. There's other players that now have done that 1 year deal this year to bet on themselves and see what they're going to do next year to try to get a multi-year come
Right.
next
If you
year.
know your worth and you know you can get it done, why not get it done? And catchers are hard to come by these days.
And then White Sox are quietly assembling a team. Like that division is now weak. We'll see what Cleveland trading Corey Kluber to the Texans. Like, are they giving up? And then the rumors of trading your star shortstop. Like, Cleveland, are you ready to start tanking because you're not going to pay these players?
They're not paying if they're not winning.
And
so-
we all know Royals are rebuild.
Right.
Twins are most likely the favorite as of right now, if not the White Sox. So it's going to be very interesting this season. Number 5, I have arguably the second best pitcher in the NL last year with Ryu going to the Blue Jays.
Yeah, man, he's a monster of a pitcher.
I understand everyone's health concerns the last couple of years. He hasn't really competed a full season since his rookie year. But the 4 years, $80 million sounds like a great deal.
That's a pretty good gamble, in my opinion.
Especially the Blue Jays. Like they got a bunch of young talent with
And in that division, you have to keep making your team
Yeah,
better to
like we said-
compete.
So Orioles are in the dumpster. They're fully rebuilding. They're committed. Like they traded away one of their best pitchers to get prospects to build. So okay, then you have Red Sox. We don't know where they're going to be this year with the whole managers and their step back they took last year. Tampa Bay showed that, but Tampa Bay, once they run out of these young prospects and start paying them, we'll see what happens. And then of course Yankees reloaded with Garrett Cole. So they're trying to compete, but with the young talent of Vlad Jr. and all the other young talent that Blue Jays got, they needed a pitcher, and I think they got a great one.
So do you think they're actually going to compete with the Yankees? I mean, the Yankees have
I think Yankees
crazy
has
talent.
the division most likely. I feel like Blue Jays could compete maybe for a wild card if they get the young talent shows up right, another pitching shows up. So, the 6th player I got bet on himself. Didi went to the Phillies.
Okay.
It's interesting. 1 year, $14 million. Everyone's surprised that he didn't go back to the Yankees. Apparently, they didn't even contacted him with an offer. So that's why Phillies are the only teams in my top 10 that got 2 players.
Well, as the Yankees, when you have to pay Giancarlo Stanton and you're going to have to pay Aaron Judge, eventually,
Yeah.
and you just signed Garrett, it's a lot to take on, even if you have all the money in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just hoping that Giancarlo Stanton will stay healthy. I mean, at the end of last year, even in the playoffs, he sat on the bench some of those games.
Yeah.
You got a guy, $300 million player, he needs to play.
Yeah, it's that deal is not looking better and better for the Yankees with taking on that contract.
It's looking better and better by the Marlins to get rid of him.
Yeah. So,
Number so
what'd you got for number 6? You got someone else?
I don't have a number 6.
You didn't do it? Okay.
But if I had to pick a number 6, I would say Josh Donaldson.
That's who my next pick was 7. Going
Okay.
to the Twins, like I was dreading if it came to the Braves and Nationals, who he's going to sign with, and then I was jumping for joy when we went to the AL Central.
Right, get him out of our division.
I was like, thank you. Like the 1 year rental was smart by him. He bet on himself. Is another player that bet on himself. He signed a 1 year deal with the Braves, and got his 4 years, $92 million from the Twins.
And you're not worried that he's getting a little older?
Like I said, 4 year deal is probably really good for him, especially for the Twins, because say in 2 years he can go to the DH spot.
Right, but he's also playing the hot corner. I mean, you got to be agile. You got to be able to get those.
That's
get
what I
that
said. It doesn't
range.
surprise me in 2 years if he moves
Right.
to either first base or a DH.
There you go. First base, I think, would be likely.
Then also Twins re-signing Jake Rosie. He was their pitcher last year. He had a great year.
Okay.
He signed for a 1 year, $17 million. And then my last one was Ballgarmer. So
Yeah.
it's not a bad signing list. And then some of the players are still out there, which one was on my list until a couple hours ago.
Right. So let's talk about the unsigned players. Give me your top 5. Who do you got at number 1?
Nicholas Castillo.
Castellanos.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's the youngest of any of the top 50 free agents. He can definitely add value to a team, or he could be another bat in your lineup. He split time last year between the Tigers and the Cubs.
Yep.
Batting .289 with 27 home runs and 73 RBIs, and he also scored 100 runs.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
especially since your first half of the year was in Detroit,
Exactly.
of all places. So to have the stats like that in Detroit with the RBIs, I know had to be great. So it's very interesting that he still has not signed. I don't know if he really wants that multi-year deal. He doesn't want to bet on himself. It's gonna be very interesting. We keep hearing Texans, especially since Ozuna had just signed before we started this podcast to the Braves.
Right. I had Ozuna as my number one, but an hour prior to us recording this, he actually did make a signing offer.
And he bet on himself with the Braves, which threw me off. I understand they needed a bat since they lost Josh, but I'm like, so that now means Nick Markakis and Adam was supposed to platoon left field. Now Ozuna plugs in there.
Yeah, I mean, the only issue I had with Ozuna is he had almost as many strikeouts as he had hits.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think he's great.
I know he wanted to go back to the Cardinals for a multi-year deal. That's the only team he was willing to go multi-year.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what happens with that this year.
Okay.
The one name besides Nicholas that's out there that I'm really surprised is still out there is Yasiel Puig.
Yeah, I got Yasiel Puig as my number two.
Yeah.
We all know he's a great player, but at the same time, he can be a distraction.
Yes.
I remember a couple years back, the team sent him down to the minor leagues when he was hot.
Yes. It's very interesting. Like, I thought maybe Cincinnati maybe would want him back because they're almost there, but I'm trying to think who would sign him at this point.
I mean, he could be a game changer.
He could be, and I just don't know where. Like if Nicholas signs somewhere else, does Texans take their chance? I don't like. It's time is running out. Like I said, there's a lot of players still out there, especially veterans. Hunter Pence. He was with Texans last year.
Yeah. Hunter Pence.
He wasn't bad. So he's a veteran. We're veteran players, which it doesn't surprise me that eventually like players will do what Adam Jones did.
Go play in Japan. Yeah.
Like, okay, I've done my career. Now, if I want some extra money, I'm going to play in Japan for 2-3 years while I still have talent.
I think that's a great idea. I would love the experience to play in Japan. The fans over there are crazy.
Especially when teams don't want to pay veterans no more, really.
Exactly.
They want to go younger. Like,
you're right.
It will not surprise me if this becomes a trend.
So, as you're mentioning the age, Hunter Pence is my number 4.
Yeah.
I got him written down as the best known for starring in Home Alone as a Sticky Bandits. But no, really, he's 36 years old. So, in my opinion, a 1-year contract might be the move to make for anyone who's willing to sign him.
Mm-hmm.
But, with that being said, he did bat .297 with 18 home runs and 59 RBIs. So, do you think he'd possibly be a good DH?
I think most AL teams go for power, the DH position.
I got you. I agree.
So, he is definitely still an outfielder, or he could be a platoon outfielder if someone chooses.
I mean, batting almost 300,
exactly.
He needs to get signed.
He still hits. Like, yes, not for power, but like put him as your 2-hole where he gets on base.
Maybe a team that's looking to play small ball might want to get him.
Yeah, like easily. Like, so it'd be very interesting to see what happens to him.
Okay. Well, who do you have as number 5?
I really didn't have like a ranking.
Okay.
Other person I have on my list is Ben Zobrist.
Okay.
He's out there. I'm like, I totally forgot. He did have a down year. He was hurt last year because he is older as well.
But an older middle infielder, that's a little unheard of.
Yeah. It's going to be very interesting. So, I don't know. Who else you got?
Well, I had Brian Dozier. I know he's older, and his batting average has always been low in my opinion. But I do think that he could add value to some team that definitely is in need. I just don't know where his fit is at this moment.
It won't surprise me if he goes to the Red Sox.
Why do you say that?
Dustin Pedroia had a setback today, and possibly career might be over.
I haven't heard this.
Yes. Apparently, he had a setback. What's coming out that he is now possibly even going to be, because he pretty much missed the entire last season. So with him possibly missing even more time, he could easily replace a fill-in, because I don't know what kind of prospects Boston has, replacing if Dustin is done.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's all I had for those prospects. So
Yeah.
let's get into the closing talks. Something I saw earlier, I don't know if you saw it as well, but the Mets look like they're going to shop Cespedes.
I did see that. I don't think it's going to happen until somewhat part in the season, unless he has a great spring training. And if he does get traded before, it's going to be for almost nothing because of the injury worrying and how he's going to play and stuff.
We don't know how he's played after the injury. I don't know if you saw the video of him working out in the Mets camp yesterday, but he didn't look the greatest in my opinion.
He looked a little big.
That's what I was going to say. He looked like he was training with Bartolo Colon.
Yeah. He's, running, hitting. Like, you can tell how he grunted when he threw the ball. He's definitely now getting back into shape. So, being, about 3 weeks away from spring training, I don't see him being traded until some part of the season, if that. Unless someone's going to offer dirt. Like, I don't even know what you would offer.
Well, they'd have to take on the contract that we have with him. I mean, he took a cut.
Yeah, it's only $6 million this year, which is not bad.
So if somebody needs somebody in a tight situation, Cespedes is definitely.
If someone gets hurt, that's a possibility they'll look into.
All right. So another thing I want to talk about, since we're talking about the Mets, the odds makers have them at their over/under for wins this season at 86.5.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think we're going to win more or less than 86 wins?
We're
last year we finished with 86.
I think definitely we're going to probably finish more if the bullpen is even average. For us, bullpen being terrible last year and getting 86 wins, if we're just average, we'd have been a playoff team last year.
Well, so last year we won 86 games. This year we don't even have a manager yet.
Yeah.
So do you think that's going to have a play with team chemistry and our wins, or does it even matter?
I don't even think it really matters at this point. Like, we didn't really add too many players. The players have been all playing together except for a couple players this year. So I think the core is there. And the way Pete Alonso said, baseball's crazy, we'll be ready. And the way Syndergaard's been working out this offseason, I think it's going to be really interesting for that team's chemistry, especially what they did the second half of the season.
So how many wins do you think we're going to win this year?
At least 90.
90? I got us at 90 as well. So let's go Mets.
All right, guys. Thank you for checking out this episode. Please share us if you enjoyed this content. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at AA Sports Podcast. Catch y'all next week. Peace.
For the record, I'm done trying to make y'all comfortable. For the record, you ain't trying to grow, then it's done for you. For the record, lab on me going all the way. For the record, ain't trying to link, no time to waste. For the record, for the record, for the record, for the record, for the record. Been a little too nice to y'all. Now I gotta up price on y'all. Snake eyes on dice for y'all. Shoulders on ice for y'all. A6 all the hate. I won't get a ball today. Got lost in the ball and A's. I'm flipping the balls, I'm flipping the on record, off record. I still count wins when they got it.